Hi, I'm Ellie Nord, and today we are going to discuss a topic that might be sensitive to some people, but it is related to drug and alcohol abuse. Specifically, we're talking about substance abuse in early adulthood, which is something that we're all kind of seeing here and now as we are in college, and we will be moving into mid to late 20s here soon. So to begin with, we're going to discuss a couple of articles, some recent media, and then we'll close out with some discussions about some future research ideas. So, the usage of alcohol and illicit substances peaks in early adulthood and declines by your mid-20s. Some factors and things that might cause this kind of drinking includes, changes with life, such as going to college, going to a new school, maybe moving out of your parents' house for the first time, just kind of new situations. You're also changing in age, coming into, let's say, 21 years old in this country, where you have to be basically of college age, or where we are now, 21 years old, in order to drink. So we're all kind of hitting that mark in our early 20s, and then we also have to face some social situations and deal with social norms, which often include a lot of drinking and a lot of social drinking, in which people are going to ask you to drink, or you're going to go to weddings, go to parties, and it's going to be there. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration in 2005, alcoholism or excessive alcohol consumption is an invisible epidemic in the US. And what they meant by this was that alcoholism, once you're of age or once you are an adult, is really not widely addressed anymore, and that there's actually kind of less of a concern for adults with drinking problems. It has been very normalized to drink, and especially once you're of age, there's not much discussion about the safety or many reminders about what could happen if you potentially drink too much, or the health problems concerned when you are drinking. So, this concern for alcohol use and abuse is actually heightened once you are an adult, or in your mid to late 20s, when you begin to have health issues, of which can be affected by alcohol use, or when you begin to use prescription medications or maybe recreational drugs, of which can also not mesh well with alcohol. So that being said, considering so many adults are on some kind of medication, we have to be aware of the risks. Consequences of drinking alcohol and combining drinking with prescription drugs include, but are not limited to, mental health issues such as depression and anxiety, inadequate nutrition. Maybe you experience a lot of weight gain or weight loss. Maybe you're not eating correctly. Congestive heart failure, breathing impairments, excessive sedation problems, and all in all, it can really be fatal at the end of so much drug and alcohol use. All of that being said, there is some talk about what is going on here. So some recent literature that I found was mainly surrounding social media. I feel like the more TikTok is exposed and things like Facebook and social media, we read and see a lot about drinking, a lot about drugs. It has been almost normalized to do those things. There are holiday drinks, party drinks, videos of parties, videos of drug use, and it's not really taken seriously anymore. And I definitely think that that is interesting. TikTok has kind of, I feel like, normalized bad habits and coping as a mechanism, or alcoholism as a mechanism for coping, as well as maybe marijuana use, prescription drug usage, hallucinogens, things like that. So it's definitely worth noting, despite how much we may see it and how frequent it is in social media, movies, TV shows, it is still a dangerous substance. Alcohol, as well as, abusing prescription medication or not reading warning labels on your prescription medication to make sure that your alcohol usage is not going to hurt you in the long run with regards to your medication. In an article written by Patrick, Rue, Lewis, Abdallah, Larmier, Solenberg, Lee, and their many of colleges, published in 2018, there is a discussion on exactly this issue. The article was titled, "Alcohol Motivations and Behaviors During Months Young Adults Experience Social Role Transitions." So this article is going to discuss the usage of alcohol in early adulthood and highlights the transitional periods in which a young adult's going to maneuver with new social roles such as relationships, jobs, and school. The article then discusses these transitional periods in a young adult's life and how they are associated with drinking motives, for example, social situations and usage for coping mechanisms. So the aim of this study was to determine if the changes in social roles are associated with changes in motivations for use as well as changes in alcohol use behavior. That being said, this was done with a community sample of young adult drinkers ages 18 to 25, and those students or young adults completed 24 consecutive months of online surveys about the previous month's experiences, social role transitions, and alcohol use. Participants were selected based on being within the age range, living within, I believe it was 60 miles of the research center, and they had to report that they had drank at least one alcoholic beverage in the last year, which is a pretty broad group of people. The online surveys were monthly, and they took roughly 30 to 35 minutes, and then every 6 months there was a 40 to 60 minute survey. And as these people completed their surveys, they were given some kind of compensation, usually a gift card. So they did see a lot of consecutive survey takers, and a lot of research was able to be conducted. So the findings in this article found that those who were more often, for those that had started new jobs, were more likely to drink. And those who more often ended jobs had higher enhancement motives to drink. So this whole situation around jobs does offer more opportunity for drinking and motives to drink as well. And that goes on both ends of it, beginning a job, or maybe you got fired or quit a job. Those who more often started relationships had higher conformity motives. So they wanted to be maybe like their significant other, or they were introduced to a new group of people who were drinking. Within persons, during months when a relationship ended, participants reported coping motives, and during months when a relationship started, they reported stronger social motives for drinking. During months when a relationship started or ended, participants also reported consuming a greater number of drinks when drinking. Interestingly enough, they could not find really a serious correlation between starting or ending school and the effects of alcohol use there specifically. But all in all, we can say that young adult social role transitions were found to be associated with changes in both alcohol use and motives for drinking. Given this article, I think it is interesting that relationships created motives for drinking. I wonder if this is simply because of a significant other maybe peer pressuring someone, or peer pressuring each other into drinking, or maybe just new social situations. I think that when you're in a newer relationship, or even a long-term relationship, you're going to be exposed to more maybe weddings, each other's families getting married, family holidays, different events that you might want to go to with friends and family. And I think it would be beneficial to do some research on that specifically. So maybe find out why there is a motivation to drink when you are specifically in a relationship. I suppose that could be done in a similar fashion as the researchers did, where I would just kind of gather up a sample of people, and we can test and see maybe short-term versus long-term relationships, if there's a correlation there. Or maybe newer relationships are going to be drinking more and they tend to be more social, that whole thing. So I think it would be most interesting to test those groups against each other, or evaluate those groups against each other, as a way to further this research in the future.